Hey guys, it's Weigel. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing well, and if not, I'm praying that you find a place of peace soon and remember to love yourself each step of the way. It's November, it's cozy season, and I'm definitely ready for the holidays and to see some family. It's also a month where we reflect on what we're thankful for, and whenever I take the time to become present with what surrounds me, I become extremely thankful for what I have and who I have in my life. Aside from my family, friends, the roof over my head, and the food in my fridge, I'm also really thankful for being able to make art. It's honestly had such a big role in my life. And with that being said, it's crazy to think there was a time in my life where I almost gave up on it completely. In this episode of Drawing Diaries, I'm going to talk about an experience I went through several years ago where I stopped making art and what that meant for me mentally. So grab a coffee or tea, pull out your homework or crafty projects, and let's catch up. Ever since I was little, I loved drawing and making art. I probably began to take it seriously when I was in the 4th or 5th grade. I remember going to the school library at that age and finding how to draw anime or manga books and being so in awe by them. I would check them out and read them religiously. I loved making my own characters and finding ways to draw or color them better. At this age and through middle and high school, making art was just a fun way for me to make my own characters, create stories, and on a deeper level, art was my sanctuary. I could go into a little comforting space in my head where ideas could spill out on paper, and I could build my own little world of characters, feelings, and thoughts. It was also something that I felt was a skill of mine, a talent I could be proud of while still striving for improvement. Towards the end of high school, it really hit me that I needed to start thinking about what I was going to do after. So in my head, the only next step I could think of was, okay, I gotta go to college. But what was I going to go for? I wasn't sure if art was something that I could do or to go for. Bless you. My baby sneezed. Oh, bless you, baby. I wasn't sure if art was something I could go for because it didn't feel like a real job. Then one night before bed, I remember spiraling down this YouTube vortex of student animations and thinking about how cool and amazing they were and how I wanted to try something like that too. And then I came across Glenn Keane's Duet, which if you haven't seen, I really recommend watching his animation when you have a chance. It's beautiful. Anyways, these animations inspired me so much that I had to show my mom, and she asked me, "Is this something you want to do?" And I said, yes. And after that, I started looking for colleges to apply to that had art or animation programs. Fast forward to fall, after I graduated from high school, and I've been accepted into a well-known university and art program in my state. I felt excited, honored, nervous, scared. I felt all the emotions you'd feel after getting into college for the first time. And getting into what you've been told is one of the most competitive programs in your university. My classes my first year, they were hard. My self-confidence in my own art, it was plummeting. I was surrounded by so many artists who were my age, and they were so talented. And there were many that were so advanced that I felt kind of embarrassed even being in the same class as them. Luckily at this point, I was at least making art that was more stylized, more my style, and didn't just look like cringy middle school anime art. But I still had moments of self-doubt, especially during critique when everyone was trying to show off their best work. And I started to wonder if I was good enough, and I wasn't so sure. So my first 2 years of college involved me having self-doubt, feeling burnt out from the demands of the program, and overwhelmed at times from trying to balance everything. I began to question if it was worth it to stay in the program, especially considering how expensive university was and the fact that I had my doubts on whether or not I could find a job afterwards. I questioned my purpose for making art, and I found that aside from making pieces for my class, I wasn't making art as much for me anymore, nor did I have the motivation to do so. So during the last semester of my second year of college, I decided to switch my major to biology. I mean, like thinking I could become a marine. I was thinking I could become a marine biologist because growing up, I had a love for sharks and aquatic life. But anyways, that quickly derailed because no matter how much I studied and paid attention in class, I just struggled. I struggled with biology. I kept failing the exams, and then I also realized, despite loving to learn about aquatic life, I was kind of scared of it. I was a bit afraid. I wasn't very good at science, and I can hardly swim, so it just didn't make sense. So since I didn't know what on earth I was in college for at this point, I dropped out. I entered a little bit of an angsty period, or depression, whatever you want to call it. I still wasn't really making much art, and if I tried, I felt frustrated. I thought something was wrong with me. How did something I'd grown to love so much become something so unfamiliar to me? My sketches all felt off or wrong. They lacked heart, and in my own heart, I just felt lost. I started wondering who I was and what I was doing. It began to sink in for me, the fact that for the majority of my life, art had always been in the picture and such a big influence in it. I felt like I lost a part of me when I noticed my feelings and motivation towards art had shifted, and it really just hit me hard. Hi, baby. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. She has things to say, too. So silly. But yeah, it really hit me hard. Like, who am I now? Who am I now without art? What am I doing? And how do I get back to it? Can I get back to it? But time went on, as time does, and I would get this itch to want to draw, so I would. Usually just a little sketch of some made-up person in my head, but whenever I'd finish these little sketches, I felt empty. There was no happiness from it, no desire to make more, just empty. And that made me frustrated. I began to wonder where that feeling of joy went from when I was younger and would create. There were times where I began to force myself to draw so I could return to that past version of myself, the version that was creative, enjoyed making art, and had a desire to try different techniques and just be enveloped in the world and love of making art. But no matter how much I tried, the feeling wasn't the same and it wasn't there. And it hurt. Sorry to sound dramatic, but it really hurt. So I put myself in this constant cycle of chasing something elusive at the time and just trying to recreate my past self. I began to glorify my past self for being so artistic and so passionate and just trying to figure out how on earth I could get back to that. And it just wasn't working. Eventually, enough was enough, and rather than tell myself I was going to quit art, I told myself to take a break, and that it's okay to take a break. So life was lifing. More time went by. My boyfriend and I got engaged. We moved in together. I found out I was expecting. We got married, and then we had our first baby girl. And having my daughter ignited something in me that I didn't know I had. I felt passionate again just in being her mom and making sure she had a fresh diaper and milk to drink. I found so much purpose in doing things for her and with her and wanting to be better for her. She became this source of motivation, and in this current month that we're right now, November, this current month of thankfulness, I'm really thankful that she came into my life when she did. I felt passionate and happy and just wanted to grow. My experiences in motherhood also led me to value the tiny windows of time for myself when she would be asleep and I had a bit of time to explore my own interests again. And that's when I picked up the pencil. Since then, that flame that ignited and got me drawing has still been burning. Does it dwindle at times? Oh yeah, for sure. But I really come to learn that that's okay, and I don't need to force things that just won't work. I've learned that there's a season for everything, and it's okay to have a season or more when it's not the time to make art, no matter how hard I try. Another lesson I learned is that I'm not the same person I used to be, and no matter how much I may want to be, I'll never be that same person again. But each day I can become a new version of myself. We as humans are going to go through so many trials and tribulations on this journey, and our thoughts, feelings, actions they can change from day to day. We're constantly becoming new versions of ourselves, and it's important to accept that. I hope you've enjoyed listening to my story, whether it was just relaxing to have one in the background, or if you felt like you could actually relate to anything I said and you felt like you needed to hear a story like this. Whatever you've got going on, just know you're not alone, and I really appreciate you for listening in. If this has resonated with you in some way, or you have questions, please feel free to leave a comment. They make me really happy to see. Thank you again for taking the time to watch and listen to my video. If you enjoyed this and would like to see more, please feel free to like, subscribe. Again, feel free to comment below. And I hope you all have a lovely day. Thank you so much. Bye.